Welcome to the Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Josh Kimmel, Dave Campbell, and Justin Bowerly.
Welcome to Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast with me. Oh no, I'm solo again. Sorry. I'll get it fixed out, Justin. We're here to talk about Dynasty tight ends today. This is the top 30 Dynasty tight ends. We're going to be speaking about all the topics regarding Kyle Pitts, Brock Bowers, maybe a little bit of Travis Kelce, maybe some Taylor Swift. Not sure yet. I'll let you know when we do bring in Justin. Just want to give everyone a heads up. You can follow us over at YouTube at Fins Talk Sports Network and at OUSFF Pod. Before we go any further, please bring in Justin Bowerly, my guest host. No Dave today.
No Dave.
Did
we tell Dave we were recording at 8 o'clock or noon today?
I did. First thing
okay, that's good.
I woke up, Dave, we're recording at 12. I actually gave him a phone call about 15 minutes ago. We spoke. He can't make it. He's a little busy at work. He doesn't live in an office like we do. So
I'm literally in an office right now, so this is not the ideal setup for me.
Work Justin over here.
Work Justin.
Make sure you follow Justin, though, because he is ascending on the Twitter universe, the X-verse, as they call it. He is – what's your follower count now? Like, you're like a superstar.
I hit over 2K this week.
Wow. I've lost.
You lost what?
I've lost so many followers, probably about 30 within the last 2 weeks.
Oh.
But it's not fantasy related. It's professional wrestling related. So
I'm at 2018, so I'm almost at our current year.
We're almost there. But make sure you go to our website as well, OUSFFpod.com, where you can go ahead and sign up for Super League. We are getting some concepts out there. We do have some people already interested, and we are having 2 live drafts, one in Indianapolis and one in Tampa, Florida. Justin, I'm going to kick it to you so you can describe a little bit more what is the Super League and what we are doing over there.
Yeah, Super League is a best ball league. It's slightly different. We're gonna have like fab waivers and everything like that. So it's best ball for the people that it's another league that if you don't want to manage your team all season, you don't have to. But if you want to add some waivers on there, you could. But it is a charity league. All the money for that league is going straight to the Children's Miracle Network to help families that need those services at the hospital. We never like to see kids in hospitals, so let's support them anyway. Every penny of every dollar goes directly to supporting them through research, equipment, actual funds for the families, paying off bills, stuff like that. So it's a really cool organization that we've been working with for a couple of years now, and I'm excited to continue to support them.
Sounds good. I cannot wait. This is the year 2. This is the first year it's actually associated with OUS since you joined the team. So really excited for that. Now, without further ado, let's get it right into the top 30 tight ends. We always follow up with the top tier. But before then, I do want to throw out a little stat. I want to throw a little stat out there. I did some calculations. I did some pencil pushing. Since the league turned to an 18-game schedule, there has only been, before this year, how about 2021 and 2022? There's only been 4 tight ends to finish with over 200 fantasy points PPR. So, and this is not counting week 18. Never count week 18. Before then, never count week 17. So, 2021, Mark Andrews did it, 284.6. Travis Kelce, 249.4. 2022, Travis Kelce scored 306, Hockenson 212.8. So those are the only tight ends that finished above 200 fantasy points. Last year, 2023, we had 6 that finished with over 200 fantasy points. Laporta 225, Kelce 219, Hockenson 219, Ingram 206, Kittle 203, and Njoku 201. This is the deepest tight end class or tight end group we've had in many, many, many years. So this should be like a half show, 20-minute podcast, but the tight ends are pretty deep, man. And this is the first time I can say this in a long, long time.
Yeah, but they are deep. But at the same time, like once you get past, tight end 12, they all become the same, in my opinion. I'm bored with them. It's still there's still not enough of them to justify running 2 tight end sets in fantasy unless you have 2 of the top 10 guys.
Oh, no. You shouldn't never run 2 tight
No.
ends on your roster no matter
Unless
what.
you have Sam Laporta and Travis Kelce or something like that.
Not even then I would. Sam Laporta.
You don't think so?
No, not even then. Just because of the vitality. Laporta was pretty much let's be honest, he's our number one. He is consensus number one across the board, across the universe, across the community. But let's not pretend like he wasn't touchdown dependent, and he depended on a lot of breakout, like 60-yard flea flickers to actually score fantasy points. He was solid. He was great. He was the number one. But if Travis Kelce played more weeks, Kelce would have finished number one. And if Hawkinson stayed healthy, he would have finished above Laporta as well. So let's not pretend like Laporta didn't get a lot of help finishing number one last year. Let's not pretend. Just saying. Just throwing it out there. But we'll get into it. So on the tier 1, we do have Sam Laporta at 1 and Mark Andrews at 2. And that is the tier. That's where we finished the tier 1. What are your thoughts on that, Justin? Because I know you're a Mark Andrews hater.
I hate Mark Andrews' age and history. He has been very good. Not gonna lie. Tight end 5, 6, 1, 4, and then last year 15 after missing 8 of his 18 games. How is he going to bounce back from that? That's my only question. It was a kind of not a great looking injury against the Bengals. He's 28 years old. We like to think the time where receivers start falling off. All signs point to the Ravens, getting a wide receiver in this draft because it is such a deep wide receiver class. So that could take targets away from him. Andrews has always been the only target in Baltimore. And I don't see that necessarily being a thing with Zay Flowers already there, with a potential another good receiver coming in. I'm worried that he will fall just a little bit. By fall, I mean I have him at tight end 4 personally. We have him at tight end 2 collectively. So the fall is not great. I just have him the lowest.
You do have him the lowest at 4. I have him at 2. Jacob, our producer, has him at 2 as well. I'm pretty sure if Dave was on this podcast, he'd be up there around 2 or 3 area. My thing with Mark Andrews is last season he did, of course, crack that fibula, missed 7 games. 7 out of 9 games he played, though, he was a top 12 tight end. The familiarity he has with Lamar Jackson in that offense, you can't really teach that. That's, been there for a while. 2022, he was also injured, but only missed 1 game. So as he gets older, are we going to start getting hurt more? That's my really concern with Andrews. But let's be honest here. Last year, he had his worst fantasy season probably in a while. He had 12.1 yards per reception with his lowest ever. His lowest by far ever, 12.1 yards per catch. Not great for Andrews. But again, he did finish in the top 12 plenty of times. He only cracked double-digit targets once last season, which is very odd for a player like Mark Andrews, which goes into your Zay Flowers twice. Are we looking at fantasy relevant weeks? Are we looking at playoffs? Are we
week 5 and week 9? So yeah, fantasy.
Okay,
relevant.
I must have messed it up. I put week 5 against Pittsburgh. Who did he play week 9?
Week 9 he played against Seattle at home.
Well, there you go. I messed that stat up, but guess what? Only 2 times then. Which I thought you would like to see. You would like to see more out of your tight end 1, your elite tier, like the Travis Kelce's of the world and Mark Andrews of the world, because they dominated those top 3 spots for a very long time. Notice we didn't bring up Travis Kelce in this tier. Just notice. We'll get to him later. But Mark Andrews, he's a known thing. Death taxes. Mark Andrews is going to score touchdowns for the Baltimore Ravens. My only concern is, and this is a big concern, do they add an extra piece? If they add an extra piece in the draft, how many targets will that take away from Andrews? And how many red zone goal line carries will Derrick Henry have to also take away from these red zone targets that Mark Andrews is used to having?
Adding Derrick Henry does change things. Yeah, he's not a receiving back, but yeah, that does take goal line targets away from him. Again, adding any kind of weapon on the offense. The emergence of Isaiah Likely last year, doing a lot better than the previous season. All these things tell me Mark Andrews is not going to be the guy in Baltimore anymore. I mean, they've got so many different options to go. This isn't like it's the Kansas City Chiefs where you have Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, I guess. I mean, that'd be Zay Flowers in this situation. So dynasty-wise, I have them lower. If this was redraft, sure, top 3, I don't care. It's fine. I'm thinking this year, next year, and the following for Mark Andrews. And everybody can't beat Travis Kelce at 34, still being as dominant as he is.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you on that as well. But can we get to Sam Laporta? Are we going to talk about him at all?
We can. That's fine. I mean, he's tight end 1, so maybe we can.
He is a tight end 1.
After his rookie season.
I will, and you know who else had a phenomenal rookie season but fell off? His name was Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts was over 1,000 yards his rookie season and fell off. We didn't see, different situation, of course, but Sam Laporta didn't crack the 1,000-yard mark. He had 86 catches, 10 touchdowns. I want to repeat that, 10 touchdowns. It's very hard to do for a tight end to do. So I'm really impressed by him. I feel like he was hot and cold, on and off, but then I'm looking at his numbers like he wasn't. He was very phenomenal. He had a ton of catches, a ton of yardage. He was very consistent in the top 15 at least. There was no, tight end 30 weeks, tight end 55 weeks. It was all up there in the top 15. My concern with that is he going to continue this success, or is he going to regress? That's something that, lazy analysts would say, lazy content creators, rookie, the sophomore slump. Let's see if it's real.
I mean, the sophomore slump for tight end 1, going down to tight end 2 would be a sophomore slump for him. So it's just how much is that production going to change when the Lions are winning? Sam Laporta was scoring, so that's the big thing. And if the Lions continue to progress as a team, I can only see this going better. The games he didn't even get 10 points in. I mean, he didn't even get even close to 10 targets those games. He was getting 6-7 targets, less than that probably even. So I'm not super worried about him super falling off here. The only game last season that I would have been remotely worried about was week 6 on the road. He had 11 targets and 4 receptions, but he followed that up with really good games. So not super worried about him. I think he's going to be fine. Again, if we're talking about Dynasty, which is what we are, this is going to be great for Sam Laporta and your team. If you drafted him in the 3rd round, this is a great pick for you.
Yeah, Sam Laporta is going to be great moving forward. I'm trying to be controversial and trying to figure something to say, but I can't because he's just so damn good. Did lead the league for tight ends at touchdowns, 4th in catches for tight ends, 5th in yards for tight ends. Just want to see that touchdown. I just hope if he doesn't score 10 touchdowns, he doesn't fall off the face of the planet.
Yeah,
because that's what I want to see. He had 153.3 standard. That's standard.
I mean, that's kind of like Darren Waller in a sense. I mean, Darren Waller was so dominant because he was scoring a lot of touchdowns on the Raiders, and when he wasn't, I guess 12 over 2 years. So I guess it wasn't a lot of touchdowns, but he was putting up good numbers because he was getting a lot of targets, a lot of receptions, and he was dominant. And then since 2020, he has scored a total of 6 touchdowns, Darren Waller has, and has not been fantasy relevant since. So hopefully that's not a Laporta situation, we hope. And hopefully he's more in the Kelce range.
And I will say this last word on Laporta. Travis Kelce and TJ Hawkinson did average more fantasy points per game, 14.6, where Laporta was at 14.1. So we are splitting hairs. But if Laporta finished 3rd last year instead of 1st, would he be the consensus number 1 for everybody? That's my question. Would he be?
Yeah. I mean, still, if he finished 3rd instead of 1st, I'd have him as top 2. I don't know if he would be 1 or 2 though. I think he would still be up there just because of his age. I mean, he's 23. He's still young. If he plays like Kelce, he's got another 11 years.
Right. And if Hawkinson didn't get hurt, and he continued.
Yeah, it is true. I mean, if Hawkinson didn't get hurt, he probably would have finished 1st. He finished 4 in 15 games. So I would still probably have Laporta up there. Hawkinson is, yes, he's younger, but than Kelce and Kittle is, but I'd still have Laporta as 1.
I would still have, if Hawkinson didn't get hurt, I think I'd have Hawkinson number 1. I think.
And we got to mention, like, if Hawkinson didn't tear his ACL at the end of last season, if this was beginning of the season or he just had like a shoulder injury or like another injury that wasn't his ACL, I wouldn't even be worried about it. He'd probably be top 3.
If you look at my rankings, you'll see that I don't care about the injury and I have him top 3. I still think that he's a great asset. He's not if we're gonna get into Hawkinson now, I think we should wait to get into Hawkinson. Let's get
Let's wait.
into the bottom tier. Are we going to tier 5?
Tier 5.
Ooh.
You want me to look them all off here?
Yeah, rattle off tier 5. It's disgusting.
So we're gonna start with 30th. So 30th, we have Taysom Hill. 29 is Noah Fant. We have Jelani Woods, Hunter Henry, Jatavian Sanders, who is not even in the NFL yet, Jawan Johnson, Greg Dulcich, Cade Otton, Darren Waller, Chig Okonkwo, and Tucker Kraft rounding out at number 20. So that was from 30 to 20. Now, I did not highlight a single one of those players in this tier because I wanted to highlight the one player that did not crack the top 30 in tier 5, and that was number 31, Jonnu Smith, which we both personally love. So if you watched the show last year, you know how big I am on Jonnu Smith. If you watch the show this year, you know how big Josh is on Jonnu Smith. Now he's finally joining the train now that Jonnu is like 57 years old.
Hey, before you existed in my life, I was a Jonnu fan. Ask Dave Campbell. I got receipts. I just didn't like him behind Kyle Pitts. But no, Jonnu has always been a fan favorite of mine. Love this guy, just mainly probably because of the name alone. But the fact that he's finally on my favorite team, the Miami Dolphins, and he will finally have a role where he is the top dog in that offense as far as tight ends go. I'm really excited for this. Now, how much of a role is he going to have? Is he going to have 582 yards and 50 catches again? I would think so in this offense because, Tua was throwing it to guys like Durham Smythe and other bums off the bench. The Miami Dolphins didn't have a real threat at the tight end position. So I'd like to see what's going to happen with this offense when you do have a real threat as a pass catching tight end. They have Tyreek Hill, they have Jalen Waddle, two amazing athletes that can stretch the field. I think this is great for Tua first. I think this is great for Jonnu secondly, because this gives him an extra little safety net. Whereas where Tyreek's running a streak and Waddle's on a crossing route, it seemed like when they weren't open, Tua didn't know what to do. Tua had no idea. He forced it in there and was forcing interceptions. Now, if he can have a tight end that gets space, that can free up some defenders, of course, yes, this is going to be good for the Miami Dolphins as a whole, but for the fantasy purposes, I don't see Jonnu Smith as a game changer. I don't see him starting in any of my lineups just because I have him at 24th. I have him at a low-end tight end too. Low-end. Mainly because of the other weapons the Miami Dolphins have. But I still think there will be weeks where he'll be useful. Just not in my lineup.
I have him at 25 as well, right up there, just outside of tight end 2. I think he's a asset that you could probably get late in the draft that he might have fringe weeks where maybe you do start him. He could go 3 or 4 games, light it up, and then you start starting him in that sense. But yeah, I would like to see how he does on that Miami Dolphins offense where it's a high power offense. So we'll definitely see. I think he'll get more goal line targets than, Gesicki was getting goal line targets. I can't see why Jonnu Smith would. We are the highest on him, I think, considering he's ranked 31 on our list and we have him at 24 and 25. That just shows you what the rest of the fantasy community thinks about Jonnu Smith. So I don't know how you have him that low, but
who, me?
No.
Like everyone.
Everyone else. Everyone outside of the two of us.
I don't know where
you might be the biggest Jonnu Smith fans ever.
Listen,
I don't know.
I don't pay attention to what those jabronis do over there on their shows. I pay attention to what happens on OUS, and you should too, honestly. Can I ask this about tier 5? And these are all bums. Like, these are all straight up bums. You don't want to start these guys unless someone's injured. What's up with Jelani Woods? What is your fascination with this guy?
He is not highlighted, by the way.
I know he's not, but why is he
talking about him?
Why is he above Jonnu Smith?
Did you see Jelani Woods play college football?
Yeah, I saw Reggie Bush play college football. I saw Tim Tebow play college football. I saw Matt Leinart play college football. I've seen a lot of players play college football.
So Jelani didn't play a single game last year, which is a significant bummer. 25 years old. He had an injury, but he definitely appears to be healthy. When healthy, Jelani Woods is the number one guy on the Colts offense. I don't care about all the people that says Kylan Granson or Mo Alley Cox. Mo Alley Cox, everybody in Indianapolis has wanted Mo Alley Cox off the team for like 3 years now. Kylan Granson might be the reception guy, but Jelani Woods is he is the tight end that's going to be the Colts. Now, Jelani Woods is going to be falling way down my roster if the Colts end up selecting Brock Bowers at 15. If that ends up happening, Jelani's not even going to be on this list anymore. Neither will any Colts tight end, but at the moment, he stands as being the best guy on that roster. With Richardson, with Pittman, with Downs, Jonathan Taylor, all of them, it's just another weapon, similar to, how Johnny Smith is on that team. I think they're going to be similar, and that's why I have them ranked back to back. But that guy is a beast, and he's going to run through everyone. So,
all right, let's get to tier 4. Tier 4 has some more relevant names, people that might start some of these guys. Justin, you want to rattle these guys off?
Yeah, so starting at 19, we have Isaiah Likely, 18, Luke Musgrave, 17, Dalton Schultz, 16, Michael Mayer, which is interesting that he's 16 with how young he is, 15, Cole Kmet, 14, Pat Freiermuth, and 13 is Dallas Goedert. That rounds out our tier 4 from 19 to 13. Let's talk about Cole Kmet. We all consistently have him right about 15, 16 range. We both have him at 16. The community has him at 15. He's an interesting guy here. The whole Bears offense, I think, is going to be interesting. He could end up going way up this ranking board, in my opinion. He could also fall completely off. With the additions of Keenan Allen, you already have DJ Moore, you got DeAndre Swift coming in. You're going to have most likely Caleb Williams coming in. Where does Cole fit in this system? They also brought in another tight end, which now I'm completely drawing a blank on.
Gerald Everett.
Gerald Everett proved to be successful in Los Angeles with Keenan Allen, with guys like Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, guys like that. Will Cole Kmet continue to be that guy? Are they going to be splitting tight end sets? But he is the pass catcher of the tight ends, in my opinion. So I'm curious. I think he's appropriately ranked right now. But again, he could rise into the top 12. He could fall out of the top 20 based off of how this offense runs.
So you look at the guys in this tier. Dallas Goedert. We know what his role is in Philadelphia. Matter of fact, Dallas Goedert is so consistent. He's finished tight end 12 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row. So we know who he is. He's the guy who's going to finish tight end 12, right? I would take him over.
He's the guy on the worst. he's the worst starting tight end in fantasy football.
Exactly. For the past 2 years.
Every year.
So I would take him over Cole Kmet. And I'm just going to rattle these guys off real quick. So Dallas Goedert easily over him. Pat Freiermuth, in my opinion, has done enough, and he's young enough, and it looks like Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. We've seen what Justin Fields did with Kmet last year. Maybe he can continue that with Pat Freiermuth. I have him over, obviously, Kmet. Dalton Schultz. That's an interesting one. I have him ranked slightly above Cole Kmet because of the offense, because of CJ Stroud, and I've always liked Dalton Schultz. That, to me, ends my tier. I know that we have our consensus tier, but that's it. Cole Kmet is right below these guys. Cole Kmet, you said it perfectly. He can either ascend up our boards or fall off, which I think there's a 75% chance that he's going to fall off the face of the planet, where he's not going to be relevant whatsoever because you have so much else going on. You have Keenan Allen going to be demanding 160 targets. You're going to have DJ Moore demanding his 130 targets. You're going to have DeAndre Swift wanting his catches out of the backfield and his running back, his goal line carries and his statistics as well. Where does Cole Kmet fit? To me, this seems like there's too much going on with a rookie quarterback. There may be situations where he panics and dumps it off the tight end. The very trendy, the very, thing to say about rookie quarterbacks. Oh, the tight end's their best friend. That's true. It happens all the time. So with Cole Kmet being there with a rookie quarterback, I can see him being up there, but I don't see him putting up monster numbers or going even above ranking 16 or 15 of this year. Now, moving forward, this is the Dynasty rankings. Is he going to continue to grow and ascend up these rankings? Possibly. Do I see it? No, I don't see him over a Ferguson or a Evan Ingram or a Goddard. Not yet. I need to see more. Last year we saw flashes. We didn't see a full season of him being great. We saw flashes. He can never be the guy who I feel put comfortable in my lineup and say, hey, this is my guy. This is the guy I'm going to play every single week. I can't do it. Honestly, none of these guys. None of these guys. I did speak out how deep the lineups are this year, but man, the tight end position does fall off after about 12. Ugh.
I would like to think he is going to continue to ascend. If we're talking about the last 3 years here, he's finished as tight end 21 with 0 touchdowns that season. I also think that might have been Justin Fields' rookie season. 2022, he finished as tight end 7 with 7 touchdowns. Last year, he finished as tight end 8 with 6 touchdowns, and he had 181 points last year. He had 148 points the year before, and he went up, or he went down a position. The tight end position in general is getting stronger and tougher. I think he does it. I think he continues to build up on that. I really want to see how this offense works. So that's going to be the key thing for all of these guys. We talked about it with Keenan Allen. We talked about it with DJ Morris. How does this offense actually work with Caleb Williams or whoever they take? So I would like to think he's going to continue going up, but I do think he is on the verge of either melting down or just rising down. 25 years old, Dynasty, this is a perfect scenario for him. This could be the guy of the future. Or he's another, future Dallas Goedert, where he finishes as tight end 12 every single season.
Just nothing exciting about him. Just straight up missionary all the time. Let's go into tier 3.
So tier 3, we start with 12. That's Evan Ingram. I'm so sad he's at 12. Jake Ferguson at 11, David Njoku at 10, George Kittle 9, Travis Kelce 8, TJ Hawkinson 7. That is our tier 3. Now, I know you have a problem with this because you have TJ Hawkinson at 3. I have him at 7, and that's where he's at. The community says 7. Jacob says 7. I say 7. I'm sure Dave would probably put him at 2.
Dave would put him at 1.
Dave would put him at 1. I will be completely transparent here. I made these rankings based off of how old I thought people were. And I'll be honest with you, I thought TJ Hawkinson was like 28, 29 years old. He is 26. That alone in Dynasty is going to tell me he is at least a top 4 probably even. If I could adjust my rankings, I'd probably have him at 4 right now. And I would honestly bump Mark Andrews down to 5.
Wow. So yeah, I'm the only person on this earth apparently that appropriately ranked TJ Hawkinson at 3 where he should be. If I'm drafting today, I want a stud tight end. He's proven ever since he's been to Minnesota, he is that guy. He should have been that guy in Detroit, but they decided to go with Laporta instead, which is totally fine. I get it. I understand why. He's never eclipsed 1,000 yards in his entire season or career. He's never eclipsed 100. He has 100 targets back-to-back years with the Minnesota years. He's just so solid. He's just a dog. He goes in there and plays football. He crushes it. He doesn't really have off weeks, especially in the Minnesota years. I'd like to see it continue. I don't see why the offense would continue. People are like, well, he's losing his quarterback. He's losing Kirk Cousins this, Kirk Cousins that. And this is going to tie in with Kyle Pitts as well. Kirk Cousins doesn't target the tight end. He just doesn't. He's done it with TJ Hawkinson. He's done it with the new coaching staff. It's actually amazing the amount of targets Hawkinson's received from Kirk Cousins, considering the targets he's had with his other tight ends. So let me rattle this off. Hawkinson averaged 8.5 targets per game with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins' tight end before that was Kyle Rudolph. He averaged 3.8 targets per game in 43 games played. 3.8 targets per game to his tight end. Kirk Cousins does not, and before that, it was even worse. Kirk Cousins does not target the tight end. Maybe it was the offensive coordinator. Maybe because they did get rid of him. They got new coaching staff in Minnesota. Dave would probably tell you more about that. 43 games played with Kirk Cousins for Mason Rudolph. He had 167 targets. Hawkinson played 18 games with Kirk Cousins, had 154 targets. Almost caught him in like way less half the time. Their receptions are pretty much similar. Their yardage are similar. The touchdowns are pretty much similar. Kirk Cousins doesn't target the tight end unless his offensive coordinator tells him to. Or maybe Kyle Rudolph wasn't good enough. I don't know. People seem to love him over in Minnesota, and he was a good tight end. That's not pretending Kyle Rudolph was a bum. This was never targeted by Kirk Cousins. Now, does that correlate into the new quarterback, whoever takes over from Minnesota? Are they still going to incorporate TJ Hawkinson highly? Of course they are. They traded, they went out and got him. He didn't just fall in their lap. He didn't just like, oh yeah, I'll just be here. No, they went out and they targeted him. They wanted him. They paid him. They're going to utilize him. In my opinion, having him outside of the top 3 is a huge mistake, massive mistake by the whole entire community. Him and Justin Jefferson are going to run this offense for a very long time. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is going to be. Hopefully it's a good quarterback. I hope it's not JJ McCarthy. I hope it's someone that's actually competent and can actually throw the ball, so I'm not totally wrong. But I do think TJ Hawkinson is going to be heavily involved in this offense going forward. And you're right, he's young, 26 years old. I'm not going to allow one injury that happened at the end of the season to define the rest of his career. We've seen Travis Kelce and Antonio Gates and Jason Witten and all these guys, all these studs, Hall of Famers play until 33, 34 years old. Why can't TJ Hawkinson?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't he?
No, I agree.
So he's got many, many more years.
Yeah, I just adjusting him to 4 here on the back end. That does bump him up to tied for 5th. I'd probably put him at 5, which actually puts him to tier 2. I did not continue to mess with the sheet because I knew that was going to screw us up in the next section when we start talking about tier 2. But yeah, at the end of the day, thinking about it after we started our recording, after looking at the stats, going, oh, he's actually 26. That bumps him up for me 3 spots even. That would put him at 5 overall. So I do definitely agree. I think him and Jefferson are going to end up running that. Plus, you got to add Addison to that mixture as well. That's just even better for the Vikings offense. Whoever that rookie quarterback comes in to be is going to be set up pretty well.
I mean, there's 3 tight ends off the bat that I'm looking at our sheet, which we'll get to in tier 2. That I'm like, why? Tell me one sane person that will draft these 3 guys, which we'll get to in tier 2, over TJ Hawkinson in a startup draft. That's how I make my rankings. If I'm doing a startup draft and I have these 4 tight ends in front of me and I want a tight end, am I going to take Hawkinson, or am I going to take a rookie in Buffalo or a sophomore in Buffalo that hasn't really proven anything, a guy going in his 4th year who's been a total bust, or a guy who had 6 good games? We'll get to those guys when we get to tier 2 if you want to get there. Or we could talk about Travis Kelce and George Kittle right now.
Yeah, let's talk about the other 2 old people.
Old busted.
Travis Kelce, 34 years old. We have him ranked as 8th. 8th for a tight end who finished, tight end 3 last, tight end 2? 3. He finished tight end 3 last year. George Kittle, who has been here forever, it feels like. He's 30. He's finished as tight end 5. We have them at 8 and 9, respectively. Why? What did we just talk about with Hawkinson? The exact opposite. They're older. I mean, they're older. These teams are going in different directions. Apparently, George Kittle underwent core muscle surgery 23 days ago that I'm just not finding out about. In Dynasty, you still have to think about the future. If I'm thinking if I had to pick between Laporta, McBride, Pitts, Bowers over Kelce, Kittle, I'm going to pick the other guys because they're younger. They're going to last longer. Their longevity is going to be longer. Right now, I have Kelce in a league, and I'm struggling to get rid of him at the moment because people want to give me like a 3rd-round pick for him because it's a 1-year rental at this point. How long will Kelce play for at this point? How long will Kittle continue to play for? Kittle, we all know, I mean, yeah, he plays through injuries, but he does get injured. He does miss time. He has not played an entire season since 2018. But since then, he's also been tight end 2, tight end 4, tight end 3, and tight end 5, and 20 in there somewhere. But he's good, but he's also missing games. And sometimes missing games is all that matters.
Kittle is the most frustrating tight end on this list. He might be the most frustrating tight end in the history of the world, not named Evan Ingram, before he played for Jacksonville. I'll be honest with you. Kittle is awesome. He's an amazing athlete, but you don't know if he's going to block for 80% of the game. You don't know if he's going to run routes. You don't know if he's going to be injured. You don't know if he's a decoy. He's just so frustrating to roster. In every league I roster him in, I want to get rid of him, but nobody wants him. He is the most valuable and yet least valuable tight end on anyone's roster
I
at
mean,
any point.
just looking at his stats, like overall here, since 2019, he has never had triple-digit targets. However, he's still finishing top 5 because he's getting 6 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns, like he's getting the touchdowns, even though he's not getting the targets. But way back when he was getting all the targets, he had 5 touchdowns in the single season. So it's like, give me both. Give me the targets and the touchdowns, and that's just not happening. So he's so frustrating because you don't see him get the 10, 11, 12 targets that other receivers are getting, other tight ends are getting, but he's getting those touchdowns. So
it's a battle between, they can use CMC, they can use Brandon Ayuk, they can use Deebo Samuel. It's just they have a cornucopia of awesome talent, and Kittle fits in there, but I don't want him to fit into my fantasy roster because of that. And I'm being dead serious. I roster him in maybe 4 dynasty leagues, and I cannot get rid of him. Nobody wants him, and I don't want him. But when I play him, he does well. I'm like, oh, you guys should have taken Kittle from me. But still, nobody wants. He can score 36 points and then 40 points and then 4.
That's exactly how I feel about Kelsey.
No,
I mean, consistently the top guy. What?
Kelsey's been consistent for the past 10 years. Stop.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah,
last
he
year,
has been.
You can't go off of last year. Last year was a very bad year for him.
He was still tight end 3 last year. That's the thing is I'm saying he's still a very good player, but you can't get rid of him in Dynasty. Nobody's buying him they're buying him for cheap, even though he is a top guy in the NFL, and he still will be until he retires.
But he could retire.
Nobody wants to buy tight end 1 right now.
Here's the thing: he could retire today, tomorrow. He can go. We can hear news in training camp that he's retired. We don't know. He's seeing his brother having all his fun. His brother's over there taking his shirt off at hockey games, slamming beers, and having fun at WrestleMania. What's Travis doing? Why isn't he he's on the beach with his girlfriend?
Billionaire girlfriend.
Yeah. I mean, what if he's just like, you know what? I'm hanging it up. We don't know. That's the thing with Travis Kelce.
And that's why he ranks 8th. He's so good. He's as high as 8, but he's so unpredictable right now with his age and outside extracurriculars that he could be not even in the league next year. So
just a reminder, this is Dynasty, guys. I think in redraft, he will be top 3.
He will be top 3 in the redraft.
All right, let's move on to tier 2. I don't like tier 2. I don't like it. I don't like what you did with tier 2, but rattle off these names.
These are the young guns. That's all I can tell you. Number 6, Dalton Kincaid. Number 5, Brock Bowers. Number 4, Kyle Pitts. And number 3, Trey McBride. And yeah, looking at the rankings, you don't like any of these guys. So
I have McBride 4, which we all have them. I guess the average is 3. I have Kyle Pitts at 8. She averages 4.5. I have Bowers at 5, 5.3, and I have Dalton Kincaid at 6, which is averages 6.3. So I guess I have a problem with McBride and Kyle Pitts, mainly Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. Which I'm shocked by you and Trey McBride, like the amount of fanboying you did last year for Trey McBride.
Before that,
so
the one and only time I went to the Senior Bowl to cover it, I did say on Twitter and. We did a live stream with Josh Wingate over there. He's on the Finstock Sports Network as well. I did say the most fantasy relevant player out of this class of the Senior Bowl will be Trey McBride. I said that. It's on Twitter. You can go look it up, people. Go look up my name and Trey McBride. It's there. And I was right. It turned out to be correct because I don't think anyone out of that class has been more productive or has the most potential. Damian Pierce, Jerome Ford, all the receivers, Romeo Dobbs. It was Trey McBride. And he's awesome. But I want to see more. I need to see more. I need to see what's going to happen. I need to see what's going to happen with Kyler Murray and his new weapons. If they draft Marvin Harrison Jr., they lost Hollywood Brown. They lost Rondell Moore. This offense is going to look totally different. What's going to happen? Is Trey McBride going to put together a full season of dominance like he did for the second half of the season? Second half of the season, he was great. But I need to see more. I don't want to see a Tyler Higbee effect where Tyler Higbee, remember that season where 2019 or 2020, where he went bananas for 6 weeks in a row. And then, like we predicted, he fell off the face of the planet. Is this going to happen to my boy Trey McBride? I hope so. I have him in my top 5. I still love him. I still think he's great. I don't want to trade him away in Dynasty. I roster him in like almost every league because of my fandom of him. But like again, is Kyler going to get traded? Like there's so many questions I have for this offense and for this team. The Cardinals are a mess. And I don't want to invest so much into a mess. I just don't. And that's why I had McBride as low as 4, but still 4 is really, really high considering I have him right there with Hawkinson, and I have him right there with who's my number 5. Brock Bowers, right? I have those guys real close together. It's just you guys have them a little bit higher. That's all. Just one spot higher. You have one spot higher.
3. I mean, we're literally splitting hairs at this point. So I have him again. Age for me is everything in Dynasty. Age and productivity. He finished as tight end 7. He's 24 years old. Automatically, that makes you a top 5 candidate. My thing here in tier 2 is Kyle Pitts. This is going to be Kyle Pitts' last chance with me. I said this last year, I think, but getting Kirk Cousins, getting a new offensive coordinator. I'm hoping Kyle Pitts is the new TJ Hawkinson for Kirk Cousins. Maybe every stat that you rattled off for Kirk Cousins and TJ Hawkinson last back in the tier 3 comes true and he doesn't care about Kyle Pitts. Maybe that's a thing. But I'm hoping that Kyle Pitts actually does something this year. This is his final guaranteed year. The Falcons have to pick up the 5th-year option on him at this point. So, but 23 years old, he finished as tight end 6 his rookie season. Then he's had 2 very bad Arthur Smith years. So hopefully this is the year for Kyle Pitts. I have him at 2. But if he falls, I'm never putting him in the top 10 ever again.
I have him 8th. I have him ranked 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Hard on Kyle Pitts. I want Kyle Pitts to succeed so bad. I have him in many leagues. It's not going to, it hasn't worked out. It worked out his rookie season where he wasn't scoring touchdowns. He scored 2 touchdowns that season, maybe 1, I believe. And it wasn't even on American soil. People pointed that out many times. Again, this goes back to the Kirk Cousins things. He doesn't target his tight end unless the offense wants him to. And that's what happened with Hawkinson. They have a new offensive coordinator, like you mentioned. Zach Robinson came out of the Rams organization. He spent 5 seasons with the Rams. He was a passing coordinator, so that's good, right? Passing coordinator, assistant wide receiver coach. That's good. He helped lead Puka Nacua to his magical rookie season last year. That's also good. Is it going to translate to Kyle Pitts? Are they going to use Are they going to see something in Kyle Pitts that Arthur Smith failed to see, and we all see? Put him in the slot. Use him as a wide receiver. Use him as a weapon. No, he does not need to be lined up at the tight end position. That's ridiculous. He needs to be used as a Jimmy Graham / weapon. That's what he should be. Remember when the whole contract situation happened with Jimmy Graham, where he's like, "I'm not a tight end. I'm a weapon, wide receiver." That's what Kyle Pitts should be used for. So let's see if that happens. I have him at 8 specifically for that reason. I don't want to be burnt again. I'm over it. I know everyone else is over Kyle Pitts. I'd like to see him hit the 1,000-yard mark again. Kyle Pitts has had 1,023 yards in the last 2 seasons combined. That's awful for a tight end. That's beyond bad. I'd rather have Jake Ferguson at some point. I'd rather have Dalton Kincaid at this point. I'd rather take a shot on Dalton Kincaid because at least we know he's going to get targets. At least we know. And that's why I have Kincaid over Kyle Pitts. I have him at 6. That's why I have Brock Bowers over Kyle Pitts, and he doesn't even have a team yet over Kyle Pitts. At some point, we need to stop blaming Arthur Smith and start looking at the tape and saying, hey, wow, Kyle Pitts didn't get separation. Wow, Kyle Pitts didn't run the route correctly. Wow, Kyle Pitts really took that play off. Great players can overcome bad coaching. I know people will disagree with that. I think that they can. And Kyle Pitts showed no flashes last year. 0 flashes. Not even put together a highlight tape of Kyle Pitts last season. You can't do it. It's impossible.
We have a Kyle Pitts highlight in our intro and outro, so there's at least one play out there.
There's at least one play.
There's at least one.
But I need to see more. I really need to see more out of Kyle Pitts. I need to see more rookie season Kyle Pitts. In the past 2 seasons, just washed out of my brain. That's why he's so low for me. That's all.
Well, hopefully that's the season, because I'm really going all in on Kyle Pitts again for the final time. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I said this last year that this is the final chance that Kyle Pitts has for me. But I'm hoping with a completely new offense that does change. I mean, the offensive coordinators coming from the Rams, they use Tyler Higbee pretty well out there. I'm hoping that they just continue to soar.
I will say this, my last closing point on Kyle Pitts. Last year, during our start sits and our cuts, all those shows, I think I was on week 4. It was that early. I said, just cut Kyle Pitts.
We did say cut Kyle Pitts at a certain point, yeah.
And I did.
Because he was like tight end 36 at that time too. So he was very bad, and Johnny Smith was doing very good.
And I gave up on Kyle Pitts last season. I haven't recovered yet. I'm surprised he's in my top 8.
It's the last chance, Kyle Pitts. This is your last chance.
Are we going to see Drake London just ball out and Kyle Pitts the secondary? I hope not. I hope both eat. I hope they both do.
I hope all 3 of their weapons ball out for fantasy sakes.
I hope so as well. Because they're all phenomenal talents. Kyle Pitts was taken 4th overall in the NFL draft. No reason why he should be just failing this badly.
Kyle Pitts not doing what he should be doing, being taken 4th overall, is hurting Brock Bowers. So I think is a more generational talent than Kyle Pitts is.
He could be. I heard that. So Brock Bowers, you're talking about Indianapolis. That'd be a good landing spot. Now, do you have any other spots? Because you're a Colts fan. You want to see him there. Do you have any other spots where he can go where
for Brock?
Yeah, for Brock.
I could see him being taken 10th. I could see him as high as 10 to the Jets or as low as 19 to the Bengals. But somewhere in that range, I think it's going to be 10 to 19. I would love to see him on the Bengals. I think Joe Burrow needs that weapon to pair up with now. Well, it sounds like T. Higgins is going to play and Jamar Chase. That would be really cool. It'd be cool to see in Indianapolis with Richardson and all the guys there.
Yeah, cool.
He's going to die on the Jets field, so
I like to see him as a Miami Dolphin. I mean, let's just name our 2 favorite teams, Justin. I mean, that's what
he'd be cool if he went like 9 to the Bears, but I mean, they already got Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett. I'm struggling to think of the actual draft order right now. There's a lot of good teams out there that could really use him, but I do think that range is 10 to 19. I think the Jets are most likely to get him at 10. Well, they're earlier than 19, of course, but they really do need a tight end. That's a thing, and Aaron Rodgers would really benefit from getting a Brock Bowers type to pair with Garrett Wilson and who else? Breece Hall and who's the other wide receivers there?
They have Corey Davis.
He's retired.
They have Elijah Moore.
He's on the Browns.
Oh, they have Wayne Corbett.
Mike Williams, that's right. The guy who never plays. So one of the most injury-prone wide receivers. Thank you, producer Jacob.
I knew it was Mike Williams.
One of the most injury-prone wide receivers on the field that injures the most players. So
yes, but he's a superstar and he can make excellent catches. You're such a hater on Mike Williams. No, I don't want. I'm not here for this hate.
The best players are on the field. So
they are. So you're right. The best players are on the field. And Mike Williams is on the field. When he's on the field, he produces and he balls out. So we'll see what happens with him and Aaron Rodgers. I can't wait. I love me some Aaron Rodgers. Stop hating on Aaron Rodgers, people, for having an opinion. Jesus, you guys are acting like he murders someone every time he speaks. It's ridiculous. That's another topic for another show. I know you disagree with me. It's okay. I agree with Rodgers. That's where I stand. Clip it, put it on TikTok.
I'll share a tweet with you after this show.
That's it for the show. Make sure you follow us at OUSFF Pod. Make sure you follow the network at Fins Talk Sports Network. Make sure you follow Justin, Viking Dave, of course, who's never here, by the way. Go to our website. Sign up for the Super League. We want to make this thing huge. We want to make this thing massive. It's going to be a great opportunity to help the children out there in the hospitals, the charity league. Best ball, so you don't have to worry about it. Justin, any last words before we get out of here?
Kyle Pitts, this is your last chance.
Aaron Rodgers, you're still my GOAT. Peace out.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. Follow on X and Instagram at OUSFFPOD. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.